All right, so the infamous snowball flow that I have coined because honestly, I haven't seen anyone talk about this. And I'm really excited for this video because this is something that I've been leveraging ever since I started with email marketing, and it is super, super powerful. I have found it to be so helpful, and it has given me so much leverage in generating incredible results for my clients. Now, let's jump into this. So the time has come to finally share the secret flow that I leverage to elevate a brand for longevity, scale, impact, and profit. As you know, I call it my snowball flow because, well, it has that snowball effect over the long run. Like I said earlier, I do believe that I've coined it. I haven't seen anyone talk about it, so I'm going to roll with it as my snowball flow. This flow is very simple, yet very powerful if you leverage it correctly and consistently. It helps in the following ways, actually, with market messaging, product research and development, customer return rate, average order value, and increasing the average order value, even with cold acquisition, deliverability, reduces customer service headaches, allows you to have healthy and quicker scaling. You will never lack creativity when you have this flow implemented. You're going to be able to have consistent ideation at your fingertips. Proactive slash optimized churn prevention, and so many more indirect benefits that the list can go on and on forever, which I'm not going to go into it. You can use your imagination. And after I teach you and share with you what I'm about to share with you, you can critically think and reflect upon it. Ultimately, the snowball flow, sorry, depending on how you leverage it, can serve as the root of all growth with a flywheel effect. Okay, this is massive. Do not be fooled with its simplicity, and do not overcomplicate what I'm about to share with you. It's going to require a bit of finesse and some thoughtful effort, but once you get this thing rolling, it'll compound further and further as time goes on. This is a very custom flow, so I will teach you what it consists of and how to put it together for one specific segment, but then it's up to you to understand the framework behind it and leverage for the different levels at which you can apply it within your email marketing strategy or overall strategy for that matter. With that said, let's dive into it. So, flow structure. This is the first step, or I guess the first component that I want to go over with you. Now, you can keep this very simple with a 1-2 email punch. Okay. It doesn't need to be, like I said earlier, it doesn't need to be overcomplicated. Ideally, this will be triggered immediately after someone purchases. Now, what I'm going to share with you, or like the example I'm going to be using as I share all this information with you, is the segment of buyers, more specifically first time buyers. So we're targeting people who are buyers, and I always like to target first time buyers to start. So just one email immediately after they purchase. And the reason I don't put a time delay is because typically they're going to go straight to their inbox for an order confirmation email. And I want them to see the first email of the snowball flow ASAP. Okay, it's vital that they see it ASAP. The second email can go a day later, and the length of this flow can be increased. It's totally up to you, but it's your decision and how you want to structure it. I simply recommend that you test it out. Okay, you can increase the volume of emails and the length of the flow. I like to keep it short and sweet. Okay. As for the emails, of course, with how you approach everything with your brand, it's very custom to you. It's very custom to the brand. It's very custom to the audience that you're serving. Okay. Like I said, though, however, I typically like to keep it short and sweet, thank them for the purchase, and approach them from a place of service to better serve them in the future. Again, it's very simple. You don't need to overcomplicate this. The emails after are simply to remind them to take action, or to take the action we want them to take if they haven't. So, with that said, let's dive into the action we actually want them to take. What we want them to do immediately after they purchase is to answer a set of questions that will generate us answers that are extremely valuable to the business. Okay? It's as simple as that. I'll touch on the questions we want to ask in the next section, but I want to dial in on how we can set this up. So there are a few ways. We can go the manual route, which is to ask our questions in the email and then have the customer reply back to the email with their answers. This can be beneficial in nurturing the relationship with them and showing that you really care, making it really personal. It's also a way to help improve deliverability. But depending on your approach in the email, this may cause harm if you ask a lot of questions. Ideally, if you go down the manual route, then you want to eliminate as much friction as possible for the customer. Just ask one or two questions max. Okay, keep it very simple. Additionally, this can be a pain when the volume of responses increase, as you'll have to sift from email to email manually. What I recommend is you leverage a tool like Jotform or Typeform. There's a bunch of other tools out there. Figure out which one's best for you. I've personally tried out, I'd say 75-80% of them, or the top ones at least. Jotform and Typeform, they take care of what you need to do with the Snowball flow. So figure out what works best for you and build out your questions in there. This makes it easier to analyze the data. And with these two platforms that I shared with you, specifically Typeform, you can craft an engaging experience with these software tools. You can craft a super cool experience, custom experience for your customers to go through that will not only get you the data that you're trying to acquire, but make them feel good about giving that data to you and going through that process. Because at the end of the day, they are taking time to support you. And so you want to make it as easy, as simple as possible, as fun as possible, and as engaging as you possibly can. So get creative and truly use this as an opportunity to serve your customers. Okay. So that's the action that we want them to take. Now, the questions themselves, what you're going to want to ask is a set of questions that are simple yet very effective in yielding the information you want. Okay. You want to ensure the customer knows that their answers are completely anonymous unless they want to share their email, which is super powerful for your business. And it's super powerful if they decide to share their contact info with you, because that gives you the ability to further the conversation with them, to dive deeper, either through email or over the phone, which is what I would recommend. Hop on the phone, have a 1-2 hour call, could even be a Zoom call, meet them face to face, and really just serve them and dive deep into what it is that they're feeling, what they're hoping to get out of, being a customer with you, and just collect all that information and leverage it for the business and for serving more people just like them. But I say to keep it anonymous because people will give more honest answers if they have the ability to be anonymous. That is precisely what you want. The most transparent answers that you can get. Now, the questions you ask, they should revolve around why they purchase, what led them to purchase, what their hopes are from purchasing, and from purchasing with you as a brand. Obviously, this is a component that requires you to tailor it to your brand and specific audience. I will say don't use multiple choice uh, questions. You want to give them the ability to submit full text responses, and not just like, you know, a paragraph, but you want to give them the ability, if they want to submit 10,000 words, give them that ability to do so, because this can drive much yeah, meteor responses, um, and those are gold. Okay, you'll be able to gain so much value from those type of responses typically. Now, I can't tell you what questions to ask, but that's some of the data you're going to want to collect from first time customers. You need to be careful with how you word the questions as well, though. You don't want to construct them in a way that could lead to biased answers, especially if you're going to prompt them, uh, or like suggest how they should answer. You want to be very, very careful with how you do that. You do not want biased answers. You don't want to ruin this whole snowball flow simply because you didn't word the questions correctly. So, I also recommend your first question is one that brings their guard down. Naturally, people have their guard up when it's time to answer some questions or uh, submit some responses or whatever. Essentially, when someone's going through like a survey, they're gonna have their guard up. They're just gonna be like, oh, let's just go through the motions, whatever. But if you can immediately capture their attention and engage them and bring their guard down, you're gonna receive much better answers. Okay. And a question to bring their guard down could literally be something as simple as, what's your favorite thing to do with, and then I put insert relative item here. So for example, if you if you're a pet supplement brand, Actually, this is perfect because I served a client, I helped a client launch a pet supplement brand. And I might have even used a question I'm about to share with you right now, but like, what's your favorite thing to do with your fur baby, right? So, such a simple thing to answer because they can go on and on about how much they love to do said things with their fur baby. And that's another thing is another key thing is you want to use the language that they use. Okay? You don't want to sound impersonal. If they use fur baby. If if they use fur baby and you go and you're like, what's your favorite thing to do with your dog or with your puppy or whatever, like if you keep it like that, it sounds formal. It sounds kind of just like, oh, like you don't really care. You just, you're just trying to get answers out of me or whatever. But literally, as something as simple as that, get their guard down so that you can get the answers you want with the following questions you're going to ask. Now, as for the volume of questions, aim to keep it five or less, as the more you ask, the bigger the drop off rate you'll have. Then again, you can test this, okay, and simply see what performs better depending on how you construct everything specifically for your brand. You also want to ensure that everything you're writing is in the correct voice and congruent to every other experience they've had with your brand so far. If the brand's voice is you as the founder and you're a female founder, and you always say something like, hey, love, or hey, beautiful, whatever. I don't know, that sounds a little cringy, but if that's how you talk and you normally communicate with them and that's what they've come to expect, stay congruent with that. Don't go, hello, name. I would love to pick your thoughts about blah blah blah. No, if it's hey love, oh my gosh, thank you so much for being a part of blah blah blah. I'd love to um, you know, hear what your thoughts are on XYZ. I would totally, totally, totally appreciate it. If that's how you talk, then stay congruent with that. You want to be aligned in the voice that you're writing in throughout the whole experience that your customer is going through. The last thing you want to do is come off completely different to what they're used to. This will cause a disconnect for the customer, thus rendering this flow useless. So don't make such a rookie mistake in not being congruent in the way you communicate, because that'll just ruin the whole thing of this flow and you'll lose out on so much leverage. So next thing, targeting. It's very short and sweet. So obviously this whole time I've just kind of been discussing on the basis of first time buyers, but there's so many different segments that you can target. Now, essentially, what you're going to want to do is collect data from both buyers and non-buyers. With those two categories, there are more levels, but it's up to you how to approach them and how to leverage this framework that I'm sharing with you for each specific segment you want to target. Okay. It's very important to understand is that there are so many different ways you can chop this up and leverage it. It is your job to critically reflect upon what I'm sharing with you so that you can leverage it to the highest degree. Now, my final thoughts, this is a very powerful flow. Obviously, I've been using it. I can't I'm telling you, in my experience, it literally elevates the brand to a whole nother level, especially over the long run. If you're serving clients, or if you have a brand and you're in it for the long term, you're in it for the long run, you are going to experience so much leverage with this flow and so many different benefits with this flow. Because it's not a flow that has a focus on generating sales in the front end, but it has the focus of acquiring data that will exponentially grow the entire e-commerce system that you are running. Okay, that's very important. While you're sacrificing maybe that touch point in terms of sales in the front end, in the back end, you are literally acquiring data that will exponentially grow the entire e-commerce ecosystem that you are running or building. If you found value at any point in this video, then I'd greatly appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up, okay? This is my secret flow, and I'm sharing it with you. So if you found value at any point, like this video, and if you want to see more videos like this where I drop literal gold, then subscribe, Okay. I hope you've been able to see how this can translate into massive gains for your brand or one that you serve. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment or connect with me on Instagram. I'd be happy to help when I can. Now, I just want to recap the leverage that you're able to build with this flow, which is market messaging. Okay. And it's not just for your emails, it's your copywriting in general, which you can leverage in literally any format on your product pages, paid traffic, on your ads, and the emails, literally any format and all sorts of media. You're able to fine tune and optimize that through this flow. Product research and development. I feel like this is obvious, but you're going to naturally understand what people are feeling. And depending on how you're targeting with this flow, the different segments that you're targeting, you will be able to conduct your product research and development that much more effective because you're actually gaining insightful data from people that have purchased, not people that say, oh, I would purchase if it was this and that. No, it's like, I've purchased, these are the problems I've faced with your product, I would love for this to be improved. And that's from people that have legitimately exchanged money to you for a product, for a version of a product that you have. So this is very powerful. This also increases your customer return rate. You improve your messaging. You get it. You gain a better understanding of what they're feeling, what's going on leading up to the moment that they're purchasing, what's going on after, all those different things. You're able to increase your customer return rate. Your average order value is pretty self-explanatory. Even with cold acquisition, again, you're pretty much just optimizing the entire marketing system. Deliverability, you get people to reply back to emails. That improves your deliverability. And it's up to you to decipher how you actually execute that with particular segments, which I think I just gave you a hint that you can do that with particular segments, different targeting to leverage that with one segment and maybe not with another, but you're still overall fueling everything. You can reduce customer service headaches, which is massive with this flow. There's just so many different points. I don't think I even have to dive deep into these things right now because if you simply take 5 to 10 minutes to reflect on this list of improvements that this flow is the root of, you'll quickly understand how and why. But yeah, healthy, quicker scaling, consistent ideation, proactive slash optimized trend prevention, and a bunch more indirect benefits, which I highly recommend. If you're a service provider, list them out because now that gives you an ability to present this to someone that you're serving. Or if you're a brand owner, then also list them out so you can truly understand. And when you bring on a team as you're growing, you're able to articulate these benefits to them in a very simple way so that they take it seriously and they put the attention that is necessary on this flow. Now, if you don't see how powerful this flow is, then I recommend you rewatch while simultaneously applying each step to your brand mentally. And if after that you still don't see the value in it, well, that's fine. The people who do will experience incredible growth with it over the long run, and I will see you in the next one.